What's up, folks? Mike for CMCC Builds here with build number 5 and part 2 of the Spider-Man series. Is 2 a series? I don't know, but I'm calling it that because it sounds cooler. If you didn't see part 1 of this build series, go ahead and check out Spider-Man here, although it won't be necessary for this build to make sense. This will be the first of my builds that doesn't focus on a singular character because we will be including both Peter Parker and Miles Morales, as you probably saw in the thumbnail. But like the Witcher build, seen here, we're looking at different versions of the same hero. They're all Spider-Man, but we're going to use powers from the, let's say, basic Spider-Man, the enhanced strength, agility, and reflexes, the ability to adhere to walls and ceilings, increased healing factor, a spider sense, and web shooters that allow Spider-Man to move enemies, move himself and allies, and restrain people and objects. Along with Miles, who has 2 additional powers that Peter doesn't possess. He can effectively make himself invisible through a type of natural camouflage, and he channels bioelectricity into his Venom Strike to stun and damage a single or even groups of enemies, while also mixing in Parker's Iron Spider armor, a metallic suit made from nanotechnology with a retractable helmet, a parachute, glider wings, missiles, enhanced durability, and protection capabilities, and of course, the 4 spider legs known as pincers. These can be used offensively to attack and grapple, defensively to help protect Peter, and as a way to stabilize and supplement his strength. What we're going to do here is combine these versions of Spider-Man to make a single Dungeons & Dragons build that will be a ton of fun to play. A friendly reminder that if you like what I'm doing here and you want to see more in the future, please go ahead and subscribe and share. Do all those YouTube things. It helps the channel out immensely. If not, that's cool too. And with that out of the way, let's swing into the build. For our race, we could use Dampier again. It would work perfectly fine, providing us with the fantastic and resource-free spider climb ability right at level 3. Even the ability to not need air to breathe fits well with Iron Armor spacesuit qualities. But aside from wanting to give additional options, the Dampier doesn't have everything we need, and one race does. This race is also a human that has been modified, but here it has been modified via magic and experimentation by transferring various animal traits to the humanoid subject. You mean like a spider? Sure. This is the Simic Hybrid. We keep the human size, medium, and speed 30. We get dark vision and an additional language, pick whatever works, and then we get our animal enhancements. We get 1 here and 1 at 5th level. The one we certainly want now is Nimble Climber, which gives us a climbing speed equal to our walking speed. Not as good as the Dampier spider climb ability, but it works, and we'll have other options later. At 5th level, to represent the Iron Man's pincers, we take the grappling appendages option. This gives us 2 special appendages that grow alongside our arms. Let's flavor that as 4. 3 if you're going by the comics, and they come out of our suit or disappear with just a thought. We can use these appendages to make unarmed strikes that do 1d6 plus strength mod, bludgeoning damage, and if we hit, we try to grapple the target as a bonus action. Pretty cool, and we're going to pick up additional abilities and skills that we can flavor as our new tentacles doing the work. It should be noted that these appendages can't wield weapons, magic items, or other specialized equipment. For our ability scores, we need to go with a 13 in strength, 12 dexterity, 14 constitution, 15 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 8 charisma. We went with a dex-based build in the last version of Spider-Man. Here we're going to go with more of an intelligence-based one. Again, we need these abilities for multi-class purposes, and we'll find other means to replicate the physical prowess of Spider-Man. With the racial bonuses, take the +2 in intelligence and +1 in dexterity. That brings dex to 13 and intelligence to 17. For our background, go with a custom background as always. Take 2 skills, a tool, and a language. If you prefer 2 tools, that works perfectly fine. Here you want to take acrobatics and athletics. Proficiency in these skills shores up our primary strength and dex skills, and does a solid job of replicating Spider-Man's enhanced strength and agility. For our tool proficiency, I went with Disguise Kit, which seems weird, but when you're a superhero that's trying to keep your identity secret, and you sew your own clothes to keep that identity hidden, I think this works fairly well. For language, go ahead and take whatever works for you and your campaign. Sadly, Italian isn't an option for us. For our background feature, I went with the Sage feature, Researcher, to really double down on Spider-Man's genius level intellect and his ability to figure out just about anything with some research, study, and experimentation. This background feature allows us to know where to find information if we're unable to recall it. For our class, we're going to start with Artificer this time. This gives us proficiency with light and medium armor, shields, and simple weapons. We also get proficiency with Thieves and Tinker's tools, the latter of which is perfectly thematic for a scientist and inventor like Peter. We're also going to take Alchemist supplies as our final tool proficiency for the same reasons. For skills, we'll need Perception to start building that Spidey sense, and investigation for more of Spider-Man's researcher abilities, along with a keen eye for detail. We get magical tinkering, which is also quite thematic. Mess with a mundane object and make it shed bright light, emit a recorded message, emit a smell or sound, or create a visual effect on the object's surface. Not a great ability, but it has some quality flavor that fits. Artificers are also the only half-casters that get spellcasting right at level 1, which is great because we can't use weapons or unarmed fighting well at this moment. We get 2 cantrips and 3 prepared spells. Don't forget that artificers prepare spells instead of learning them like rangers. Why rangers learn spells instead of prepare them like the other half-casters and druids is a mystery to me. Big miss by Wizards of the Coast as far as I'm concerned. Maybe they'll fix that in 2024. I don't know. For our 2 cantrips, we're going to need to take Thorn Whip again. This is our primary web shooter. Make a melee spell attack for 1d6 damage, and if the creature is large or smaller, we pull them up to 10 feet closer to us. No saving throw. And in those cases when we're within 5 feet of an enemy, let's take Shocking Grasp, the first of Miles' powers, the Venom Strike. A charge of electricity from our hands that stuns an enemy, or in this case, not allowing them to take a reaction. This helps with our mobility as we can get in and then out of melee without worrying about opportunity attacks from the target. If the target is wearing metal armor, we can make that attack with advantage, so choose your enemies wisely. For our 3 first level preparations, I would take Catapult. Choose an object 1 to 5 pounds within 60 feet and fling it at an enemy up to 90 feet away for 3d8 bludgeoning damage. Here we're grabbing something with our web, spinning it around, and tossing it at our enemies. I would then take Featherfall. This is a solid situational spell, but it's a situation that seems to come up a lot for Spider-Man. Remember, you're catching people with your webs, and the elasticity of those webs are gently stopping their fall, or yours. Finally, I would take Snare. If there's a single iconic way that Spider-Man catches the bad guys, it's by snaring them to the ceiling, restraining them with his webbing. We get both with this spell. Even though it's more of a trap and it takes a minute to cast, it still works. Level 2, sticking with Artificer, we get Infusions. We learn 4 total infusions at this point and can infuse 2 items at once. At this point, the 4 infusions that we want are Enhanced Defense for the Iron Armor Bulletproof Ally, a Homunculus Servant, which works for Peter's Spider Bots or Spider Drones, Armor of Magical Strength, which allows us to add our intelligence modifier to strength checks and saves and prevents us from falling prone. This is exactly what we want for our 4 pincers on the Iron Armor suit. You're about to be knocked down, the spider legs pop out and lock onto a wall or the ground to prevent you from toppling over. Also, if you're making a grapple check with your appendages, you can expend a charge to give that a bump too. And finally, Enhanced Arcane Focus allows you to cast spells with a +1 to attack rolls and ignore half cover. This works well with our Thorn Whip and Shocking Grasp spells. For our additional preparation here, we should take Jump because we're Spider-Man. You gotta have Jump. At level 3, we get the right tool for the job. We can create any set of artisan tools out of Thieves' Tools or another artisan's tool. Basically, we can make any job work with what we have. When you're an inventive genius like Peter, you get strapped for cash, you make things work no matter what you have. In fact, when we first meet the MCU Peter, we learn he does just that. Finds things from the garbage and makes them into things he needs. More importantly, at this level, we get Artificer Specialist, and we're going to take Armorer. This gives us tools of the trade, which provides proficiency with heavy armor, and this time we will certainly use it, and proficiency with Smith's tools. We get the Arcane Armor feature. This allows us to ignore the strength requirement of certain heavy armors. It's at this point, with proficiency and no strength requirement, that we'll want to get plate armor as soon as possible. The Iron Spider Armor is bulletproof and provides a ton of additional durability to Spider-Man's entire body, including his legs and head. We can represent that best as plate armor, which basically covers our entire body with metal. This armor also becomes an arcane focus for us, which is actually quite thematic, as most of what Spider-Man does will be performed or enhanced by the suit. The armor attaches to our body and can't be removed against our will. No Way Home spoilers moving forward. Be warned. Dr. Octopus aside, this ability seems spot on. The armor expands to cover our entire bodies. That sounds like nanotechnology to me. We can retract or deploy the helmet as a bonus action. This functions exactly the same as Iron Man's nanotechnology and something we certainly want here. We can doff or don the armor as an action, perfectly replicating the nanotechnology's ability to quickly cover the wearer. If we want Iron Spider armor, this is where we need to be. Then we get to choose our armor model. And although both work well in their own ways, the Infiltrator can sort of function as Spidey's black stealth suit from Far From Home, mixed with Miles' ability to send electrical currents through his webbing. If you want to go that route, all you need is a long rest to switch your armor model. Depending on the circumstance, much like Spidey changes his costumes from time to time, I would do the same. But the primary model I'll be talking about here is the Guardian. The Thunder Gauntlets allow us to fight in melee, which is important for any Spider-Man build. The Thunder can be flavored as just more powerful punches from a superhero or as part of Miles' bioelectrical powers. Any creature hit by the gauntlets then gets disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than us. More of Spider-Man's taunts. Make fun of the enemy, knock them in the face, and make sure they only want to attack you. Right on theme. This armor model also provides a defensive field that allows, as a bonus action, for us to gain temporary hit points equal to Artificer level. I would flavor this either as the suit's protective capabilities or Spider-Man's healing factor kicking in. We don't get any additional spell preparations, but we do get armor spells. The first is Magic Missile. This doesn't quite fit, but we do see in the Far From Home short film, Peter's To-Do List, that the suit actually is fitted with missiles that seek out enemies and auto-hit them. But the end result is they get blasted to a wall and webbed up, so it's not a perfect fit, but it's definitely usable. The second spell we get is Thunder Wave, which works perfectly as a version of Miles' Venom Strike called the Mega Venom Blast that he uses to attack multiple enemies at once, jump up, smash the ground, and send enemies flying back. Love it. At level 4, we get our first ASIR feat. Here we're going to take Telekinetic. Wait, what? I know Spider-Man doesn't move things with his mind, but this gives us a +1 intelligence, bringing that to an 18. We get the Mage Hand cantrip. Once again, it can be invisible, but ours works with our web, so it won't be. And as a bonus action, we can move a creature 5 feet toward us or away from us. Force movement like this is actually perfect. More webs, more movement. We can move allies or enemies, and this is a bonus action that requires a strength save against what is essentially our spell DC, since we're increasing intelligence. So we either pull them closer or sling a web behind them to jerk them backwards. Because of that intelligence bump, we get 2 additional spell preparations. Here I would take Cure Wounds and Absorb Elements, as more of Spider-Man's healing factor and the protective capabilities of the iron armor. At level 5, we're sticking with Artificer to get extra attack right at level 5. We did it, folks! We got extra attack on time! Our first build right at level 5. Savor the flavor, because if the past is any indicator of the future, it might be a while before this happens again. So now we can attack with both gauntlets or both appendages to make a grapple attempt as a bonus action, boosted by our Armor of Magical Strength and Proficiency in Athletics. Any grappled enemies I would probably flavor as them stuck with our webbing, with us holding on to make sure they can't move. Also at this level, we get 2nd level Artificer spells, which means we get Web. Unprepare, Cure Wounds, Jump, and Snare so that you can take the Web spell and get Spider Climb and Invisibility. At level 5, we can essentially do it all. Climb walls, web enemies, punch them in the face with the power of thunder, protect ourselves with heavy armor, electrocute enemies, turn invisible, and use giant spider legs. But we're not going to stop here. Quick reminder that invisibility does end if you cast spells or attacks, so be careful there. Miles' invisibility is more of a natural camouflage that isn't perfect either, especially early on, so I see that restriction on the spell as a feature, not a bug. We also get the Armorer spells Mirror Image and Shatter. Shatter doesn't work for us at all. Spider-Man doesn't blow people up. Mirror Image can fit if you flavor it as Spidey's lightning fast reflexes that can even function when his soul is removed from his body. You're not creating multiple versions of yourself, you're just Matrix levels fast. So it appears as if you have multiple bodies. You decide if it's playable. Let me know in the comments. I know level 6 is a big level for Artificers, but right now there are some other abilities that we want more than what we get with Artificer. So we're going to multi-class into Barbarian. This may sound weird, but it'll make sense. First, we get proficiency with martial weapons, which means very little to us. We also get Rage. We're not going to use this often because you can't cast or concentrate on spells while you're raging. But if we run out of spell slots, or if the RP calls for it, or if we're about to die, we can certainly make use of Rage for the added damage resistance. We'll rarely use the Rage bonus to damage, although it could be useful for our appendages, which would benefit from both the damage and the advantage on strength checks. If you don't think Spider-Man rages, then you haven't seen No Way Home yet, and what are you doing watching YouTube? Get out there and watch it. I'm kidding. Finish this video first, then go see it. At this level, we also get Unarmored Defense with our Iron Spider Suit. This is far less useful for us than it was for the previous build. But if we ever get caught unarmored and don't want to take an action to don our Spidey gear, then we can manage with a not terrible AC. Right now, that's just a 13, which it will eventually bump to a 14. Not great, but it's certainly better than an 11. At level 7, we're a Barbarian 2. And this is why we're here. We get Reckless Attack. This gives us advantage on attack rolls using strength, so whenever we attack with our appendages, we can Reckless for advantage. The downside, of course, is that attacks against us get advantage until our next turn. And again, if you don't think Spider-Man ever attacks recklessly, go watch No Way Home. Or you can even play this off as Spider-Man getting too cocky with his attacks and unwittingly giving his enemies an edge. We've seen this before too. But the real reason we're here is for danger sense. Due to our uncanny sense when things nearby aren't as they should be, we get an edge when we dodge away from danger. Mechanically, we get advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see. This is the Spidey sense. There is no single ability that represents the Spider-Man power better than this one, both mechanics and flavor. The Spidey sense is a bit more powerful as it works even on things Spider-Man can't see, but it's as close as we're going to get. And since we didn't get it on the last build, I had to make sure we got it on this one. Level 8, we're going to hop back into Artificer for a 6th level there. This gives us tool expertise. Our proficiency bonus is doubled for any tool in which we are proficient. This just adds to the Spider-Man as a genius level scientist and inventor skills. He's very good with alchemist supplies. He has to be make those webs and gadgets. We also get 2 additional infusions known, an additional infused item, and another spell preparation. For infusions known, we get access to the 6th level options, some of which are pretty cool, but not many really work for our goals here. I would take the spell refueling ring, which allows us to recover a spell slot up to 3rd level. This is our extra web cartridges. And then I take Boots of the Winding Path, which allows us to teleport 15 feet as a bonus action to an unoccupied space that we just moved through this turn. This is our web swinging. We swing to a new spot, then swing back. Or just shoot a new web with this weirdly specific mechanical restriction. We can infuse 3 total items at this point, so I'd suggest Armor of Magical Strength, the Homunculus Servant, and the Spell Refueling Ring. But really, any of these infusions will work thematically and mechanically. For our new spell preparation, I like Vortex Warp, which is perfect for the Doctor Strange magic-infused suit that Peter uses in No Way Home. Even though it's a great 2nd level spell, most of our 2nd level slots will be used up with the actual web spell or spider climb, so it makes a bit more sense to take another 1st level spell, and we kind of need jump, so let's prepare that spell again. Level 9, Artificer 7, we get Flash of Genius. Bonuses to saving throws are always thematic for Spider-Man. This allows us to add our intelligence modifier to a saving throw or ability check that either we or a creature we can see within 30 feet makes. Right now that's a +4 that we can use 4 times per long rest. We also get another 2nd level spell slot, which is always nice. With our spell refueling ring, that's 4 2nd level spells that we can cast per long rest. Artificer 8, we get an ASIR feat. Here we could use the ability score improvement to max out intelligence, which is certainly a good idea. But I feel we should get our dex where it needs to be. So I'm going to take Resilient Dexterity to bump our dex to 14 and give us proficiency in dexterity saving throws. Now we have that proficiency and the advantage from Danger Sense. Our Spider Sense is fully loaded. With our 8th prepared spell, I'll go ahead and take Vortex Warp at this point. Moving creatures is just too thematic for us to bypass. And like the last build, you can play it off as your webs moving them, or you could RP it as the Doctor Strange magic that he gave to Spider-Man in No Way Home. Level 11, Artificer 9, and we get some nice goodies here. The armor modification feature allows us to infuse individual pieces of our armor, and we get 2 additional infused items, as long as those belong to the armor. We're going to need those extra infused items next level. We get 3rd level slots here and access to 3rd level Artificer spells. The Armorer gets Hypnotic Pattern and Lightning Bolt as auto-prepared spells. Lightning Bolt is right in line with Miles' bioelectrical powers, so we'll definitely use this one. Don't forget that you're transmitting this electrical burst through a web that you're shooting at someone. Hypnotic Pattern doesn't seem like a spell that fits at all, but let's focus on the mechanics of the spell. Those that fail their save in a 30-foot cube are charmed, not a fit. While charmed, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0, both perfect for us. We already have web, which restrains those in the web. Here we can actually wrap them in webs and incapacitate them, very much like how Spider-Man catches all of the petty criminals that he faces. Perfect fit? No. But it's close enough that it's a usable spell in my opinion. And it also happens to be one of the best 3rd level spells in the game, so it's a win-win. Level 12, Artificer 10, and we get some really big things here. Magic Item Adept lets us attune to 4 magic items at once. We get 2 more infusions known, 10th level infusions, several of which we will want, and another spell preparation. For the new infusions, we'll want Helm of Awareness. This gives us advantage on initiative rolls, and the wearer can't be surprised when conscious, both perfect abilities for Spider-Man and the Spidey sense. With the 2nd infusion, we'll want to replicate a magic item to get Slippers of Spider Climbing. Now, in addition to a climbing speed equal to our walking speed, we can move up, down, and across vertical surfaces and upside down along ceilings, while leaving our hands free. This allows us to unprepare the Spider Climb spell. I would change out the Boots of the Winding Path infusion in order to replicate a magic item and get a Ring of Jumping. This allows us to cast the jump spell, but as a bonus action and at will, so we can unprepare that if we use this infusion. Because of our level 9 Armorer ability, Armor Modifications, we can infuse 6 items at a time, as long as there are 2 items on your armor, which there will be for us. We'll want to infuse our Helm of Awareness on our helmet and the Slippers of Spider Climbing on our boots. For the main portion of our armor, we can continue with Armor of Magical Strength or switch to the Enhanced Defense infusion, because at this point it gives us a +2 to armor class, which is very difficult to pass up. For the 4th infusion, we'll want the Homunculus Servant, and for the 5th and 6th infusions, we'll use the Ring of Jumping and the Spell Refueling Ring. When equipped, all 6 of these magic items, we're only using 3 attunement slots, which leaves us the 4th from Magic Item Adept open for another magic item we may have picked up during the course of our adventures. For our spells, we're going to unprepare, jump, and spider climb, which gives us 3 new spells to prepare. I would take fly, which is the closest ability or spell to web swinging in D&D. We got a fly ability in the last build, but it was only 10-foot movement speed. Here, we have the much more accurate 60-foot movement speed, and you can RP those times you lose concentration as someone cutting your webs. I would also take water breathing, which represents the iron spider armor's ability to protect the wearer even in the vacuum of space. Breathing underwater is no issue. For our third spell, I would once again prepare Cure Wounds for our healing factor. We get an additional cantrip at this level, and I like Lightning Lure. Sling a web at someone and send miles of electricity down it. It's only a 15-foot range, but if they fail their saving throw, they get pulled 10 feet and take 3d8 damage at this level. When do we use this over Thorn Whip? If a creature has a high AC and a low strength save, this is a quality alternative. Gives us another option to move creatures around the battlefield. Level 13, Artificer 11, we get Spell Storing Item. We touch a weapon or spell focus, and we can store a spell in it that can be cast up to 8 times for us right now. We're going to use the web spell here and treat this like additional web shooters that we can pass around. Give one to your homunculus and have it concentrate on a web spell for you to free up your own concentration for another spell like invisibility or fly. Level 14, Artificer 12, and we get another ASI or feat. Now's a good time to max intelligence. It's a little late in the game, so if you want to do this earlier, go ahead. The new level and bump to intelligence gives us 2 new preparation slots. Let's take haste, which gives a bump to AC, advantage on all dex saves, not just the ones we can see, doubles our speed, and an additional action. This is all great for a speedy character like Spider-Man. It costs concentration, which is hard for us to keep free though. And finally, I take Longstrider for a concentration-free movement increase. Level 15, Artificer 13, and we get 4th level Artificer spells. The Armorer subclass gives us Fire Shield and Greater Invisibility. Fire Shield doesn't fit for us, but Greater Invisibility can be RP'd as Miles' improvement with the power allowing him to attack and remain invisible. Sort of like the final fight in Into the Spider-Verse. Artificer 14, level 16, we get the Magic Item Savant feature that allows us to attune to a 5th magic item. We also get 2 new infusions known and another infused item, bringing our total to 7. For the infusions known, I would replicate a magic item and take a Belt of Hill Giant Strength. Spider-Man is strong, and this makes us strong too. I'd also replicate a magic item to get a Ring of Protection, and finally replace the Enhanced Arcane Focus to replicate a magic item and get an Amulet of Health. I would remove the infusion on the Ring of Jumping so we can infuse the Belt of Hill Giant Strength and the Amulet of Health. We now have a 21 Strength, 14 Dex, 19 Constitution, and a 20 Intelligence. This feels very superhero-esque to me. For our additional spells, we get another cantrip at this level. I'll take Mending. For a scientist like Peter, being able to repair items is a no-brainer. For the additional spell preparation, let's take Freedom of Movement. Our movement speed can't be reduced, and we can't be restrained or paralyzed. Movement and agility are Spider-Man's thing. In the absence of rogue levels, spells like these are really helpful to maintain that agile, mobile edge that Spider-Man has over his competition. At level 17, we'll be an Artificer 15. To be honest, I had no intentions of going this far into Artificer, but the Perfected Armor feature is absolutely perfect for us. While wearing the Guardian Armor, which we do, whenever a huge or smaller creature ends its turn within 30 feet of us, we can use a reaction to pull the creature up to 25 feet directly to an unoccupied space if it fails a strength saving throw. And if we pull it within 5 feet of us, we can make a melee weapon attack, which includes our fists, as part of that reaction. You mean like this? This is a primary Spider-Man combat technique. Attach a web, pull the enemy closer, knock that enemy around a bit, rinse, repeat until you can restrain them semi-permanently. Too good to pass up, so I had to go the full 15 levels. Here we also get an additional 4th level spell slot, so that's nice too. At level 18, we're going to go back to Barbarian to get our Primal Path. Totem Warrior is really the only solid choice here. Besides the animal themes, where's the spider? The mechanics fit well with Spider-Man's abilities. The wolf works least well, as Spider-Man isn't really a team player. He's primarily a solo superhero, although that obviously changes when he works with the Avengers and Peter 2 and 3. Tiger gives us additional jump distance, which we definitely want. Elk increases movement speed, something we're always interested in, especially on this build, where we're a bit limited compared to the last build. Eagle allows us to move in and out of melee, while enemies have disadvantage on opportunity attacks. Again, right in line with Spider-Man's style of combat. But I'm going to go with Bear. At this level, resistance to all damage besides psychic damage is too good to pass up, and perfectly captures Spider-Man's extreme durability and his ability to take a hit and keep on coming. We also get the Beast Sense and Speak with Animals spells as rituals. We'll never use them. At level 19, we'll head back into Artificer for another ASI or feat. Now's a good time to pick up the Alert feat. This gives us a +5 to initiative, and we can't be surprised. And creatures don't get advantage when we can't see them. There is a bit of redundancy with the Helm of Awareness, so if you want to change out that infusion, now's a good opportunity to do that. For our new spell preparation, I would take Arcane Eye to represent one of the mini drones that Spider-Man uses to scout ahead. This spell allows us to create a magical eye that we can see through, that we can move anywhere in this plane of existence. The eye is invisible and our drones are not, so you may want to nerf the spell a bit, making it visible, but that's your call. I don't think an invisible drone is too far out of bounds, especially after the drone tech we saw in Far From Home. At level 20, we have a decision to make. We can go back into Artificer for a 17th level and get 5th level Artificer spells. Along with that, we get 5th level Armorer spells, which includes Wall of Force, a great spell, maybe the best 5th level spell for a 9th level wizard. It's less effective at 20th level, but still a very good spell. We could potentially flavor this as a huge amount of webbing, fully encasing an enemy, but that's a bit of a stretch for me, especially since only the Disintegrate spell has any effect on the wall. Animate Objects and Big B's Hand are also quality spells that don't really fit our needs. Our other option, and the one I'm going to recommend, is to stay with Barbarian for slightly more hit points and another ASIR feat. Here we can take Mobile, which gives us some of those nice rogue abilities without the rogue levels. We get 10 feet extra movement, difficult terrain doesn't cost extra movement when we dash, and after a melee attack we can move without provoking opportunity attacks from that creature. All quality abilities that we want from Spider-Man. And that, my friends, does it for the Spider-Man builds. I hope you enjoy these characters, or at a minimum got some good ideas for your own versions of the builds. Let me know what you'd do differently down in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, all the YouTube stuff. And see you here next time with build number 6. Who will it be?